Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. All right, man, I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. So, as you guys know, we have the SuperUnited Blitz and Rapid out of Croatia going on. So I did go ahead and grab the round one Rapid game. And this is between Wesley So and Gukesh Domaraju. As you guys know, he qualified for the World Championships, so they'll be playing it later this year. But all of my people coming from the Philippines, I will say Maraming Salamat. Anybody who is coming from Tamil Nadu, I will say Mika Nanri. If you guys are ready to go, man, let's take a look and see what we got for this game, son. So we got E4 and white wins. That's the end of the video. No, I'm playing. I'm messing with y'all, man. But you know, E4 is best by test, and that's what Bobby Fischer said. Maybe some of you guys have heard of him. We see the move C5, so we do have the Sicilian defense. We got knight to F3, knight goes to C6. And then we see bishop B5, and this is the Rossolimo variation. One of the main things that you think about if you are playing the Sicilian from either side is it is a very huge fight for the square D4. From white's perspective and black's perspective, they really would love to get this D5 move in. So you see a lot of different kinds of variations that revolve around that. So bishop to B5 is just adding pressure to this knight that is influencing this D4 square. So at some point you generally see white trying to push D4. We got the move G6. This is a hyper-modern way to try to put the bishop on that diagonal. You see that all these squares are going to try to be covered by that bishop if they do fianchetto it. We got bishop taking C6, pawn taking C6. We do see the move D3. Now, D4 was immediately possible here, but, you're kind of helping black, after you've captured on C6, help correct their pawn structure. So you really don't want to do your opponent any favors. So we do see the move D3. We got queen going to C7, very typical Sicilian move. We got A4. One of the other ideas that black tries to do in the Sicilian is expand on the queen side, especially if you have a bishop over here, like, you have like some dragon situations where you try to, really push an advantage over here and, just kind of, wreak some havoc on white's queen side. So A4 is just really trying to slow that down. So we do see the move A5. We got the move E5. Knight would come to F6 generally, but we have tried to take that away from him. So black has to find an alternate route, which they do. We see knight going to H6, and this is the novelty of the game. I honestly can't remember what was played before this point, but like I said, knight F6 is taken away, which is a more common move that you'll see black play. And that is one of the things, one of the reasons that we do not have a D pawn. Usually you'll see like a D6 preventing an E5 push, but we do not have that. We have this right here. We got castles by white, and then we do see the move knight to F5, and we are possibly eyeing a knight to D4. As I was saying, black has a little bit of structural damage, so they would love to maybe play knight to D4 and then see knight takes and pawn takes, and then now you have a really great structure. Also, you are possibly looking at a knight to B3 situation if the knight gets here and you have C3, and then you have a really bad fork situation going on. That is definitely one of the ideas. When you do play a pawn here like you do kind of leave holes in these particular squares. So you got to be a little bit careful. We do see the move C3 just preventing knight to D4 completely. We got B6. We got queen going up to E2. We got bishop to A6. Rook goes to D1. And then we do see rook to D8. And like I said before, D4 is definitely one of the pushes that white is trying to get in. But as of right now, you absolutely cannot do that because you might see this and then you go, no! Yes, you don't want to just drop your queen for free. I was playing somebody yesterday and they dropped their queen for free and I was like, what are we doing? And they resigned. And I was like, thank you. But anyways, we do see bishop to F4 in this situation. We got knight back to G7. Now you can see that the situation, the position is looking actually a little bit weird. You really never see a fianchettoed knight. This is absolutely not where the knight wants to be, but you see that the knight is trying to redirect itself somewhere else to be more useful. We got bishop going to H6, and knight goes to E6. We got bishop taking F8, king taking F8. And yes, black has messed up their castling rights, but, without white having a dark squared bishop, you really don't have as many weaknesses on the dark squares as you would have if they did have that bishop. So you're actually a little bit in a better situation. Queen goes to E3. Maybe you want to check on queen to H6, but the king just goes to G7. We got knight to A3. You had to develop that piece at some point. Maybe you want to go like a knight to C4 at some point or back down here to try to help with your D4 push, something like that. We do see rook going to D5. We got H4. This is creating lift, and also black has this fianchetto structure that you are trying to maybe break down. You got h6, just slowing that down. You can meet h5 with g5, and you're all good to go. Rook goes to d2. We got rook up to d7. We got rook a to d1. We got b5. We do see finally the move d4 shows itself. We got pawn taking a4, pawn taking c5, and then we do see rook a to d8, and we see knight to d4. Now, of course, this does hang this pawn right here. You kind of have to do something because you can't just, you know, protect it with the queen right here because you can give it up for an extra rook, and you're good to go. And black definitely doesn't want to take on d4 because then this gives black everything they ever want in the world. So we do not see that. We see knight taking c5, of course. We see the move h5. Now, this might look like kind of a strange move. Like, what is h5 doing? You just got done saying that you just got done saying that g5 can just close the situation down. Well, not actually in this specific situation. You know, you are threatening some checks here. You also have situations where, you know, this isn't a potentially weak square. You'll see that again a little bit from now. But we do actually see knight going to b3 here. But backing up in the situation, if we did see pawn taking here, this would be 1000% winning for white. Knight would go to f5 with check. The king would come down to g6. You would actually be seeing giving up your knight in this situation with queen takes here. The king would take. You got queen checking, king to e6. You got queen to g4. And mate is coming in around 5 or 6 moves, depending on how you play. If you play the wrong thing, checkmate can really come sooner than that. But we do not see that. Like I said, we did see knight down to b3. Not only does this hit our rook on d2, but we do hit this knight up here. So this is actually not very useful. We do see pawn taking g6, and like I said, with the knight having moved, this is actually a pretty tender square, so you absolutely do not want to be taking here because you would be looking at this fork, and this queen will cry the rest of its life, which will be very short. We do see knight taking d4. We got rook taking d4, pawn taking g6. We got e6, rook takes, rook takes, rook takes, queen takes with check, and then we have the move king up to g8, and we have actually reached a position. There is a very, very super accurate move that you can play here. I think it might be kind of tough to find because, you know, there's a lot of different possibilities. But if you want to pause the video and see what move Wesley So finds here, go ahead and do so. Okay, cool. So it's a subtle move. It has like some in-game ideas behind it. You know, you actually can possibly create a situation where this king right here is outside the square of this pawn if you can move the pawn over this way to some degree. So the move that Wesley So plays here is queen to d7. And you absolutely don't want to capture here because you're going to be looking at this and then there's no way to stop this pawn. Like I said, you're outside of the square of the pawn. You're unfamiliar with the square of the pawn. It is an in-game concept that basically you kind of draw a square and you kind of see like if your king can catch it before it promotes, stuff like that. So you absolutely do not want to go in this situation here. So what we actually see Gukesh do is a really, really nice counter move. He basically just does the same type of thing. Now, there is a major difference because if you go pawn, queen takes here, then pawn takes, and then pawn pushes, you actually would be just in time to save that pawn from promoting because now you are in the square of the pawn. So it's like subtle stuff like that that you have to calculate. But like I said, after we see queen to d6, we did not see the trades here. We saw queen going to e8 with check. The king went down. We got queen to f7 with check. The king goes up. And now we see queen taking g6. You have won a pawn, and you are now protecting your pawn right here. You just kind of have to get your knight in the game. We got queen going down to d1 with check. The king goes to h2. We see queen back to d6 with check. We got the move g3. Bishop goes down to d3. This really doesn't change what white is going to do because they're going to take this pawn and check anyway. So we do see queen taking h6 with check. We see a little zigzaggy. The king goes over, the queen goes down, and we see a little bit of positioning. We are possibly trying to get into a situation where we could maybe check on this square and at some point maybe pick up this bishop if this queen moves. So that is what we're really kind of trying to work out from white. We got king going to f6, so we have kind of gotten that idea situated. We got the knight going to c4, and this is attacking the queen. We see queen taking e6, and you see the bar. We see queen checking on d4, and this is check, and it's also a double attack. There is no way for black to parry this threat. This bishop is being lost the next move. And it is in this position that Gukesh resigns the game. Now, to kind of give you a little bit of understanding of like what exactly is going on in this position, you actually have the ability just to capture this knight right here like this. But automatically what Gukesh sees in this position is if you go down here now to check, you actually can block this way and you are protecting your bishop. But he didn't calculate the other check that Wesley So was able to find. He was actually kind of low on time. It looks like he had about 15-20 seconds left at this point. So, you know, that adrenaline gets rolling. Anybody who's played a tournament, they kind of know what I'm talking about. And you just simply overlook a possibility from your opponent. So like I said, this position that we're in, you have no way to legitimately block. You have no way to save this bishop. It really doesn't matter what you do. Something like this, I mean, you're going to be, you know, you can even do this if you want to be fancy. And you are just down a 100% entire piece. And it is not, you're just not able to win this kind of a game. Neither one of these players can win against each other if they do, you know, lose that much material. So all of my people in the Philippines, I will say, Maraming salamat po sa nanonood ng aking mga video. Magandang umaga. It is morning. Magandang hapon if you watch this in the afternoon. Anybody who is coming up from Tamil Nadu, I will say vanakkam. I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by and taking a look at my video. And I will see you guys next time.